Um, it has to be a virtual session for today, but hopefully we'll get to meet some of you soon. I'm going to ask the Speaker of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, who is our leader and executive authority, to open this this very first Boys Parliament and to welcome you to this event. Honourable Speaker Dylan Mitchell.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Sunal. It is indeed a great honor and a privilege for me to welcome you to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, and thank you for giving me the absolute honor of opening today's proceedings. It is indeed a proud moment to host our very first Boys Parliament here. It is inspiring to see so many young people committed to improving their communities and the lives of others. Just recently, we hosted a colloquium on women, peace and security in this chamber. Gatherings like this brings fresh perspectives and new ideas to our work as public representatives. After all, we are here because of the people, and our mandates come from the people. Today is your chance to discuss the issues that affect you and your communities. And always remember, the conversations you have here will inspire others to keep pushing for change. As someone who started out in youth structures myself, I want to commend you for stepping up as junior councillors and leaders in civil society. Too often we celebrate senior officials, but it is the everyday change makers like yourselves who are closest to the people and whose efforts often go unrecognized. So I encourage you, engage, participate, and connect with one another. Let's build relationships that will support you when you return to your communities, and the impact of the Boys Parliament today will be felt in the change that you drive along the way after you leave this chamber. I want to recommit the Western Cape Provincial Parliament as a key partner and a strategic stakeholder to be your voice inside the chamber, but also when you go out into your communities, that you always know that the Western Cape Provincial Parliament is that stakeholder and partner that will always be available to support and encourage in the interest of the citizens of this beautiful province that we are able to serve in our various capacities. So once again, thank you very much for your commitment today, and thank you for your willingness to participate in what is the first for the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm going to ask the champion for this process, the Honourable Deputy Speaker, Regan Allen, to give you a bit more background and context to what this session is about today. Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Good afternoon to the Speaker of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament and boys and young leaders. We have the youngest Speaker across all our 9 legislatures, and I stand corrected, but we also have the youngest Chief Whip, but also the youngest leader of the official opposition. It's a dynamic parliament, and to quote and to take a leaf from what the Speaker just said, we are wanting to actively engage so that your voices are ultimately heard. But let me say, welcome to Boys Parliament. I must say that it feels slightly different doing this online. At least I probably don't have to dodge a flying soccer ball in the quad, but it's just as exciting because even though we are sitting in different places, we are united in one conversation. And what makes today even more special, boys and young leaders, is that in this room, or let me say online, we have representatives from the Representative Council of Learners here in the city of Cape Town, but also stretching all the way to the beautiful central Karoo town of Beaufort West, where the Speaker is from, which is almost 500 kilometers away. But also joining us are young leaders and boys from the junior councils of George, of Saldanha Bay, of the Cape Agulhas, of Mossel Bay, and Stellenbosch. We also have future leaders from Chrysalis Academy, Africa Unite, Yeboneers, as well as our pay interns, which forms part of the Western Cape government. But that's not just a roll call. That's a picture of the Western Cape connected online today, different towns, different schools, different journeys, but one shared vision, breaking out of the boy code and stepping up as champions of change. Now, I must admit, the theme is breaking out the boy code, and that sounds like a video game because I have nephews that are your age. And often, speaker, I even hear some unparliamentary language when they play FIFA and Fortnite. But the boy code is something much bigger. It is the unwritten rules that say that boys don't cry, and that boys must always be tough, and that boys must always be in charge. But here's the thing, those rules are like playing a game on the wrong settings. I'm going to repeat, it's like playing a game, but on the wrong settings. You never actually get to fully experience the game, but also you are stuck repeating the same mistakes. But today is all about us. It's all about us pressing the reset button. So let us take a quick look at the debate questions that you have all been provided. First, it's what role can Parliament play in making sure that safety and respect isn't just a girl issue, but it's a justice issue for everyone. Abuse and inequality don't just hurt girls, they weaken our entire society. And when the fabric of a society is broken, we see higher levels of crime. Secondly, what role you can play in creating equality between boys and girls? Respect isn't only something that happens in this particular session. It starts in our WhatsApp groups, in our classrooms, on the sports field, and in your homes. And thirdly, probably the toughest one is that what role can you play in confronting your own stereotypes? Real change begins when the person in the mirror ultimately says, I choose respect. But boys and young leaders, let me leave you with this. Being strong doesn't merely mean being silent. Being a man doesn't merely mean that we need to be violent. Real courage is choosing respect. So from the city of Cape Town to Beaufort West and everywhere in between, remember this, respect travels faster and further than Wi-Fi. And unlike Wi-Fi, it never drops because us as boys coming together can ultimately ensure that we take this province to further heights, and your voices are so, so vital. So let's debate hard, which let us share openly and show South Africa and the boys that we will and that we can be champions of change. Once again, to each and every participant, thank you for being part of this first ever Boys Parliament. It was probably about 14 years ago where I formed part of Youth Parliament, and I still remember vividly how I connected with others, how I made friends, and some of those friends are still in my life today. So I trust that we will all have an amazing time, but it is vital for us to engage in this particular way. Ms. Sunel, I think I will hand over directly to the Chief Whip. If the Chief Whip is online, Mr. Gillian Bosman, who is, I stand corrected, Chief Whip, that you might be the youngest Chief Whip also in the entire country.
Good afternoon.
There's the Chief Whip. Sorry. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Chief Whip.
Good afternoon, Deputy Speaker. Good afternoon, members of the Boys Parliament. I'm just checking if you are able to hear me. I'm having some connectivity issues with my device and my camera is not working.
You're loud and clear, sir.
Perfect. Thank you very much to the Deputy Speaker as well as the Speaker for convening this forum. And thank you very much to Ms. Forshare for also extending an invitation for me to deliver some input and to listen into your deliberations. I've been asked to talk to you about young people as change makers. And I think that conversation is not just, as the Deputy Speaker just said, a work-related conversation, but it's also very much a personal conversation. When I was a teenager in Cape Town, I really saw how inequality and poverty could stifle talent before it even had a chance to grow. With that experience, I was able to found an organization called Youth in Poverty Cape Town in partnership with some colleagues in Scotland through a collaboration with the World Economic Forum and the British Council. And from those very first community projects, I've now gone from founding an NPO to now being the chief whip of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament representing the majority party. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned there is that lasting change begins when young people refuse to wait their turn. And I hope that that's a message you take away today. My own path has taken me from classrooms of Sibelius High School to the University of Cape Town, to leadership programs across the world, including as one of the inaugural Mandela Washington Fellows in the United States. But in every step, I've met young people who are transforming their communities, whether that's through building startups, challenging injustice, or mentoring the next generation. These young people have proved that their courage as young people means that they are not the leaders of tomorrow, but we as young people are the architects of today. But, you know, being a change maker is not just about holding office or founding an organization. It means questioning harmful norms, especially those around gender. And I hope that this Boys Parliament will be tackling some of those harmful norms and look at how we address those harmful norms, not just in the organizations or the community groups that we're part of, but also in the homes and the friendship circles that we form part of. Each of you can model respect and equality in your schools, your friendships, and your families. And that's how we're able to build a society where justice is not just a girl issue, but it's everyone's responsibility. I've only got 2 minutes, so I want to leave you with this charge. Do not underestimate your own voice. Do not underestimate your own vote. Organize, innovate, hold leaders, myself included, accountable. The Western Cape, South Africa, and the world needs your energy, your ideas, and your insistence that dignity belongs to all. Remember, as young people, your capacity is extraordinary. And by showing up today to participate in this important Boys Parliament, you've already shown that you have the initiative and you have the tools to create change wherever you are. As change makers, you are perhaps the most important players in our local political society, in our national political society, and also in our global political society. The world is changing very fast, and the world is changing in a direction that's not always friendly to young people who are marginalized. So use this opportunity to innovate, to organize, and to hold leaders accountable, whether they are young leaders, whether they are older leaders. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you today.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. I'm now going to ask the leader of the official opposition in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, in other words, the second biggest party in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, the leader, Honourable Khalid Sayed.
Thank you very much. Am I audible? I just wanted to get a sense of that.
You're audible and visible. Thank you.
And visible, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. And my thanks to the Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, my colleague, whom in fact I met when he was at the forefront of youth development before being, so I can attest to that and his role that he has played. Let me greet the Honourable Speaker, the Honourable Deputy Speaker, who are led by young men. And I'm so glad that you as young men can see that. I'm young, the Chief Whip is also young. So young men can take a lead. We are not on the margins of society. We have opportunities, we've got the ability, we must lead from the front and create a better society. Today's discussion or special sitting of the Boys Parliament is not only about boys or girls, but about the kind of society that we want to build together. Too often, issues of safety, fairness, and respect are spoken of as girl issues. But we know that gender-based violence and harmful stereotypes are not just women's issues. They are societal injustices. They rob us of dignity, of opportunity, and of peace. The Western Cape Provincial Parliament has a duty to lead by example. This means opening spaces like this Boys Parliament, and let me commend the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker in this regard, where youth voices are not only heard, but help shape the policies that affect our daily lives. What you are going to say to us today is going to inform what we, even as the opposition and those who are governing, take forward when we hold the executive of government accountable. We must also ensure that schools and communities become safe spaces where fairness and respect are lived values, not just words. As young men, and I include myself here, but especially you carry a powerful role. You can challenge the so-called boy code that tells you strength means silence, dominance, or disrespect. True strength is in equality, is in compassion, and is in standing up against abuse wherever it happens. Each of you here today has the power to model a new way of being, to show your peers that being a champion for change means treating girls as equals, confronting stereotypes, and building a society where respect is mutual. Honorable Speaker and guests and participants and members, the future of our province and our nation depends on how today's young people break free from harmful norms and embrace their role as leaders of justice and equality. And we can take the lead here in the Western Cape, because this Western Cape is led by young men as a provincial parliament. And you are here as young men. I've looked at many of your profiles. I know who many of you are and the role that you play. Let this Boys Parliament be a reminder that youth are not just the leaders of tomorrow, but youth are the leaders of today. I thank you. Everything of the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khalid Syed, leader of the official opposition. I was going to say that you will see the leadership positions and the young men that we have taking charge in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. I also saw that there are quite a number of other members who are attending virtually. That is just not on the speakers list, and there are quite a number of young men amongst them as well. I would like to thank the leadership of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament for taking the time to connect with the young men of the Western Cape, literally representing every single district that we have. So now we have listened to the current leaders. Now is the opportunity for us to listen to the future leaders. So I'm quickly just going to go through with all of you the process that we are going to follow, and then I'm going to hand over to you. Please be mindful of your 5 minutes. When you approach 4 minutes, I will in the chat box just give you a heads up, because we have limited time and we really want to hear everyone. So I'm just quickly going to share my screen with you. All of you have received the documentation for this session, and the important one here is the speakers list. We did ask people to look at the speakers list and familiarize themselves with their turn to speak. So the moment that Josh Lemekis from the RCL is done, I'm going to call on Matthew from George, Mr. Fanello, Wilmore, Caden, Lisoleto, Junaid, Hlumelu. So people must be ready, up and ready for it. And remember your 5 minutes. I'll give you a prod when we get to the 4 minute mark. Other participants, you must listen carefully. Those who are not on the speakers list, make some notes. After the prepared speeches, Mr. Sindile Sikau from the men's sector, the Western Cape men's sector, and I can tell you that this initiative of a boys' parliament flows from the men's parliament, where they said we want to have better men in the future, and the only way we can have better men is to start with our young men and ensure that the change starts there. So he's going to facilitate a session where everyone that's not on the speakers list will have the opportunity to make an input, a comment, or ask a question. If you want to make an input, please raise your hand. Sandile will see it and recognize you. He'll make notes as we go along. You can also put in the chat box. I will be monitoring that and filtering it through to Sandile. When we are done with that, the deputy speaker will speak to all of us about the key points that were raised and the key points that we will take further, hopefully to the National Boys Parliament, but also to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, where there will be discussions on the issues that the young men of the province has raised. After that, the speaker will close the meeting up for us. But right now, we're going to hand over to the most important people in this Western Cape Boys Parliament, and those are the representatives from our young men across the province. I'm going to ask Mr. Josh Lemikis to please switch on his microphone and his camera and do us the pleasure of addressing us. Thank you very much, Mr. Lemikis. We can see you and we can hear you. There you go. Thanks.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, the Chief Whip, fellow delegates and leaders present, I rise today as a representative of my community to speak on this important theme. For too long, society has told boys that to be a real man means to be tough, unemotional, and dominant. This boy code does not only limit us, but it also harms our sisters, mothers, and communities. It teaches boys that showing care is weakness, that violence is strength, and that silence is manhood. But today I say we must break that code. In my town, like many across the Western Cape, we see how harmful gender norms play out in daily life. At school, girls are sometimes silenced, harassed, or treated as less capable. Boys often feel pressure to act in ways that are aggressive or dismissive of emotions. These are not just girl issues, they are justice issues, community issues, and human issues. And so I want to make this statement clear. It is important for the boys in our society to realize that they are what they believe themselves to be. Many issues arise when the subject of men's gender norms or men's feelings are brought up, such as gender-based violence and other forms of physical and mental harm. But this is exactly why we need our boys of today, who struggle against stereotypes, to become the men of tomorrow, who can change the world for the better. We cannot change them from the outside, but we can encourage them to look inside themselves and see the better man. The Western Cape Provincial Parliament has a role to play in creating platforms where boys and girls are equally heard and respected. By strengthening policies on gender equality, supporting campaigns that challenge stereotypes, and holding schools and communities alike accountable, WCPP can ensure fairness and dignity for all in every sector. But as young people, we also carry responsibility. We must be role models who confront our own gender stereotypes. We must treat our classmates, friends, and sisters as equals, not as rivals. And change begins in our own language, in how we stand up against sexist jokes, in how we support survivors of abuse, and in how we allow each other to express emotions without shame. We are growing boys as champions for change, boys who not only see the challenges around them, but take action to address them. Boys who learn, lead, and inspire others through their example. Every small choice, every act of courage, every voice raised in truth contributes to building a community that is stronger, fairer, and more united. Together, we don't wait for change, we create it. I charge you today as delegates to break out of the boy code and to build a future where boys are not just bystanders, but champions for change. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Josh, from the Representative Council of Learners of the Western Cape. I now call on Matthew Taylor from the George Junior Town Council to address the Western Cape Boys Parliament. Matthew.
Good afternoon, fellow council members, respected guests, and everyone here today. My name is Matthew Taylor, and I am honoured to stand before you as part of the Junior City Council of George. Today, I would like to talk about a crucial issue that affects all of us, an issue that doesn't only belong to one gender, but is a social justice issue for everyone. This issue is gender equality, the fight to ensure that both boys and girls live in a society that is fair, safe, as well as respectful. Let's start by thinking about the role of institutions like the Western Cape Boys Parliament in addressing these issues. The Western Cape Boys Parliament holds a unique position in shaping the future of young boys and in turn society as a whole. It can play a pivotal role in creating an environment where gender equality isn't just an afterthought, but a core value. This platform can amplify our voices in advocating for equal rights, safe spaces, and a shift away from harmful gender stereotypes. By raising awareness and encouraging dialogue among secondary schools, youth, and community organizations, we can remind each other that issues such as gender-based violence, harassment, and inequality are not girl issues, but human issues. These are social justice issues that concern each and every one of us. But awareness alone is not enough. We need to take action. This is where we as individuals have a role to play, particularly in confronting and dismantling gender norms that have allowed harmful behaviors like abuse to persist. As young boys, we are taught that being tough, unemotional, or dominant is the ideal. These stereotypes are not only toxic for our mental health, but also contribute to the inequality and abuse over girls. The sooner we challenge these norms, the sooner we can build a future where both boys and girls are equally valued and respected. So how can I, as an individual, contribute to breaking these gender stereotypes? For one, I can start by reflecting on my own beliefs. Do I hold assumptions that boys should be strong and in control at all costs? Or do I believe that men and women have equal rights and should be treated with the same respect, regardless of societal expectations? By questioning myself and leading by example, I can help others see that challenging stereotypes is not only necessary, but empowering. Moreover, I can actively engage in conversations with my peers, whether it is in the classroom, online, or even on the sport field, about what true equality looks like. It's about encouraging my friends and classmates to express themselves without fear of judgment, showing them that being kind, respectful, and emotionally intelligent doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. How do we grow young boys to be champions of change? It starts with nurturing empathy and understanding in our communities. We can't just teach boys to follow rules. We must teach them to understand why those rules even exist in the first place, to promote fairness, equality, and mutual respect. We can help young boys see that standing up for girls and women is not just the right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do. When we all have equal opportunities, when everyone is treated with dignity, society as a whole benefits. But this growth cannot happen in isolation. It requires strong role models like fathers, brothers, teachers, as well as community leaders to actively show what it looks like to value and empower everyone, regardless of their gender. By setting examples of kindness, respect, and equality, we lay the foundation for the next generation of boys to become leaders who advocate for change. In conclusion, the Western Cape Boys Parliament has a critical role in shaping the future of young men and guiding us towards a society where gender equality isn't just a conversation, but it is in fact a reality. We must all take responsibility, each one of us, by challenging outdated beliefs and stereotypes, by standing up for those who cannot stand up for themselves, and by teaching the next generation that true strength comes from respect, empathy, and equality. Together, we can create a world where everyone, regardless of their gender, has the opportunity to live in a safe, fair, and respectful society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. I'm very impressed with you all in your timekeeping because you're sticking on the time. That's fantastic. I'm now going to ask Mr. B. Fanelu from the Chrysalis Academy to address us. Mr. Fanelu, you must also just share with me your first name because I only have you as B. Fanelu. It would be great to know who you are. George, you can switch off your camera, and Mr. Fanelu from Chrysalis.
I would like to greet Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and Chief Whip. My first name is Babalo. If you can hear me properly, ma'am.
Babalu. Thank you very much, Babalu. We can hear you and we can see you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So, first of all, I would like to appreciate the platform that I've been given to speak about somehow a very sensible topic of our generation. First things is, in our society, in the world that we live in right now, we don't particularly look as us men or young men in a way of being vulnerable. So now it feels like we're not safe. We're creating our own safe spaces, which is something that we should also be considered as people that deserves the safe space. So now it's just something that revolves around some people. It's not just something that is justifiable for everyone. That's how I view the roles these days that we're living in. And in order for us to create equality, is that we have to first look at ourselves as people, because that's where equality starts. So as an example, I work in an organization, Chrysalis Academy. This is where I've learned most of the equality, where I know for a fact that whatever applies to men applies to women. There's no special treatment. There's no nothing. We know that whatever these ladies are here to do, the men are also here to do. We don't have to make an exception. It's just because it's females, we have to do something other than what we have to do. So I think equality is the first step to everything. It's the first step to everything, to not judge a person by looking at them that they're not capable of doing something. You have to first see, then you can react to what they or cannot do. Because also us as men, there are things that we are not able to do, but females can do. So it's a energy that we have to build, so intertwine energy, let me just say, put it like that. So in recent days, I had the speaker talking about men don't cry. That's the biggest stereotype that we have nowadays, where we see young men falling into depression because they know that they can't express themselves in every possible way, because whatever we go through, it turns out as a joke sometimes. So now you can't fully voice it out, because you know that whatever you say, it won't be noticeable. It will just be something that you have to toughen up and carry on, pat yourself in the back and carry on, which is something that I don't believe in. I really don't believe in that, because what if we can help each other? Because whatever I'm struggling with, my colleague knows, so that I know that he is there to help me. So now, if we don't have those kind of safe spaces, but we do have it for certain amount of people, what does that say about our society as people? So in conclusion, please, it's something that we should take accountable of, knowing that we should just see people as people, not because of gender. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babala Fanelo from Chrysalis, you and your friend next to you. It was great having you here. I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Wilmore Daris, all the way from West Coast, Saldanha. So thank you, gents. You can switch off your video and we'll move to Wilmore. You can put on your camera and your... There we go. There we see you. That's a lot of badges that you have there. Your jacket must be quite heavy,
Thank
eh?
you.
Mr. Wilmore Daris, we are listening to you.
Can I just double check if I'm audible?
You're audible and visible. Thank
Okay.
you.
So, as the ma'am said, I'm Wilmore Daris. I'm the former speaker of the Saldanha Municipality Council and a member of the Provincial RCL Forum. And I just want everyone to imagine a society as a house built long ago with strong walls, but also with cracks running through them. These cracks are not small. They represent inequality, gender stereotypes, and violence that weaken the very foundations we stand on. And if the house is unsafe for one of us, it is then unsafe for all of us. For too long, boys have been given the boy code as their blueprint. Be tough, hide your feelings, prove your strength by control. These rules do not build strong homes, they build walls that divide. Today, we are called to break out of that code and take up a new set of tools to repair this house, not just for girls, but for everyone who calls it home. So what role can the Western Cape Provincial Parliament play? The WCPP has the power to create laws, policies, and platforms that ensure fairness and safety for all citizens. But beyond policies, it has the responsibility to change the culture, to show that protecting girls is not about weakness, but about justice. Parliament can fund education programs that teach respect from a young age, support initiatives that empower boys to speak out against violence, and hold institutions accountable when they fail to protect the vulnerable. In short, the WCPP can shift the narrative that equality is not charity, but it is justice. But laws and policies alone cannot rebuild the house. What role can I play? What role can we play? I may not be an architect, but I am still a builder. Every word I speak, every action I take is a brick I lay. When I challenge sexist jokes, I am patching the cracks. When I treat my sisters and classmates with dignity, I'm reinforcing the beams. When I show empathy instead of silence, I'm pointing the walls with respect. My small acts are the cement that holds this house together. And yet, what use is repairing the outside if the rot lies within me? It is easy to say, I believe in equality, but it is harder to admit that I sometimes carry the very biases I claim to fight. Confronting myself means asking, do I think a girl is weaker just because she is a girl? Do I interrupt her voice because I assume mine matters more? Do I measure my worth by dominance instead of kindness? The fight for equality begins not only on the outside, but on the inside. Breaking out of the boy code means choosing to be not just tenants in this house, but caretakers, champions for change who repair, rebuild, and renovate. And when boys rise as champions, we do not take away from girls, we strengthen the whole house. So I ask you today, will we leave this house to crumble under the weight of old codes? Or will we rebuild it together, brick by brick, action by action, heart by heart, until it stands as a safe home for us all? The choice is ours, and that time is now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wilmore Daris, all the way from the West Coast, for that very passionate message. We appreciate it. We're now going to hand over to Caden Koopman from a non-profit organization called Africa Unite, that is a very key partner of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament in terms of our public education and outreach program. Wilmore, if you can, I don't know whether you switched off your camera. Caden Koopman, you can step to put your mic and your camera on. Zoe, is Caden in the building? Or is it Nick that is going to speak? Or is it Nick that's struggling to connect?
Greetings, ma'am.
Hello? There we go. We can see you and we can hear you.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings to the Western Cape Voice Parliament and all protocols observed. Currently, Caden is struggling with his network, but I'll step in. From the Africa Night, for me, being witnessing the challenges that boys are facing in our society, been working in Guguletu. I've been witnessing, a very tragedy of seeing young boys turning into violence and crime in our society. The painful part is that young boys being introduced into heist and also drugs and smuggling drugs into schools, and schools are no longer safe. And this is something that should be looked into, as back at home, and how are they living back at home, and also how are they living in their homes. You'll find that we have homes that are spearheaded by their mothers, and you find that a key father figure is not present, or a person who plays a father figure is not present. And these are the key things that create young boys now turning into gender-based violence and not becoming agents of change. It's because of they are never groomed to become men from a very young age, as being a young boy growing up in the townships. And the painful part is that we lack role models in our society. We should introduce boys program in our society, as also partnering with Western Cape Parliament, trying to partner also with the social, the civil society, the organizations that are working in schools in trying to groom young boys into becoming men of change in our society. And you'll find that these young boys, they really need mentors, people to mentor them, people to groom them. We are lacking that in our society. And I saw the importance of men's safe space. Men's safe space, where we create a safe space for boys, because we have a lot of girl empowerment programs in schools. And you find that boys are neglected in our schools. And we need a lot of men safe space and a lot of resources that are needed for us to actually conduct these programs in schools, and also partnering with other civil societies or other stakeholders like the like of SEP and CPF. And really, during the endeavors that we are running in our societies, especially in Guguletu, I really found that men really need to be educated when it comes to human rights, because the stereotypes that we're no longer living in the olden days where men were having a patriarchy system, where men were superior than women, but we are living now in the new generation, in the 21st century, where all genders are equal. So we need to educate more men and young boys when it comes to gender roles, when it comes to human rights and understand them, and also giving them the understanding that it's not about who is which gender, but it's about humanity, treating each other with respect and dignity. And we really need the boys programs, mentorship programs in our societies, and also introducing a system or a manual in schools where we allow and we create moments where we have time for young boys to sit down and speak about their mental health and speak about their challenges, because the challenges now is fatherlessness in our society. A lot of households that do not have present fathers involve fathers. So we need men to take their stand, and the Western Cape government to also assist with resources, to also fund, and assist these civil societies to actually to conduct these programs. Fatherlessness is the challenge in the whole South Africa. We need fathers who are involved in the children's life emotionally, physically, and holistically. So I would say from what I have prepared is that we really need mentorship programs for young boys. We really need men in our society, frequent individuals for boys, not a once-off. And thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much to Nick from Africa Unite. It is great to have heard your voice. I'm now going to hand over to Lisolethu Sikoko from the Junior Town Council of Cape Agulhas. From Overberg. Are you in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Lisolethu, your camera and your microphone. There we go. We can see you. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Western Cape Boys Parliament, and we are all ears.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, honorable members. I am honored to speak on a subject that is beyond gender, age, or background. A subject that touched the heart of humanity itself, that's social justice. The Western Cape Boys Parliament has a powerful responsibility to help build a society that is truly fair, safe, and responsible by making it clear that issues like gender-based violence, abuse, inequality are not just a girl issue, but an urgent social justice challenge for everyone. Through strong debates, awareness campaigns, and community programs, the Boys Parliament can educate and empower young men to reject harmful gender stereotypes, challenges toxic masculating, and understand that respect is non-negotiable. By boldly promoting a responsible, positive masculating and encouraging boys to speak against violence, harassment, and discrimination, they can influence their peers to take action instead of staying silent. The Boys Parliament can also push stronger schools and communities policies, ensuring safety and report systems and accountability for abusive behavior. In this way, boys can not only be bystanders but leaders in driving a change, helping to end violence and create a safety society where equality, dignity, and safety are not just protected for all. I promote equality by treating girls with respect, rejecting sexual jokes and behavior, and speaking out against abuse by challenging harmful genders, norms, and leading by example. I help to create a culture where boys and girls are valued and treated equally. I am confident that I can confirm gender stereotypes by challenging my own accountabilities, rejection, and belief. The boys are superiors and actively promoting equality in everything I do. This means speaking out against sexual jokes, unfair treatment, or behavior that disrespect girls, and encouraging others to do the same by showing through my words and actions. The boys and girls are equally capable and receiving of respect, I can help break harmful norms and creating a culture of fairness and equality. In conclusion, I create a safety society that is fair, safe, and respectful beings with us. As the WCBT, we must rise to change not with words but with action. Let us lead by example, stand up against injustice, and work together to protect and uplift our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisoletu from Cape Agulhas. We appreciate your input in this first Western Cape Boys Parliament. You can one day, you can all tell your grandchildren that you participated in the first ever Western Cape Boys Parliament, the first Boys Parliament in South Africa, for that matter. I'm now going to hand over to Junaid Daniels. The Western Cape Department of Cultural Affairs and Sports has a Yebo Academy where it is all about youth development. And I am now going to call on Junaid Daniels, who is a Yeboneer, to address the Western Cape Boys Parliament. Junaid?
Good afternoon. Am I visible?
You are visible and audible. Welcome.
Thank you, esteemed guests, and thank you for providing this platform for me. So I just want to acknowledge the contributions of all the guests before me. You touched on some very interesting points, and in some aspects, I will also be reiterating them in a different context. So firstly, with the discussion that we're having, it's about gender-based issues and making it a social justice issue, right? There's two levels to it. There's the systemic level and the individual level. So systemically, the Western Cape Provincial Parliament is a legislative body, right? That means it's concerned with the laws that govern our province. But with laws, there needs to be action for it to materialize in the everyday lives of people. What does that mean? Okay. So the laws that concern gender-related social issues, are they comprehensive enough to address the needs of current society? For example, as you know, with AI becoming more widespread, it's more easier to create deepfakes of people. So when people use those tools in harmful ways, what are the laws that actually govern and address those, especially when it comes to the creation of, for example, sex tapes? It's so easy to doctor those. And with women being particularly vulnerable in contexts like this, how do the laws, are they adequate enough to address these issues? Also, what are the gaps? So we do have existing legislation around gender-related issues, but what are the gaps? How are they covering those gaps? How do these laws translate into action on the ground? So as an institution, the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, it can look at how the existing laws that govern gender-related issues, how can it be adapted for current needs? And also, as a legislative body, how can it enforce that other arms of the state are actively rolling out these gender-related reforms? For example, in dealing with gender-based violence, there's a whole of society approach, ensuring that different state institutions are proactively creating environments where gender-based violence and related issues can be effectively addressed. For example, at clinics, hospitals, and police stations, people often complain that the staff are not sensitive to the needs of GBV victims as they enter these institutions. In making it, an environment where people feel comfortable speaking up about gender-related issues, staff need to be trained in dealing with sensitive matters. Promoting after-school programs that encourage healthy relationships between boys and girls. As a representative here beyond, our main mandate is to roll out, after-school programs across the nation. We're currently based in the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and Gauteng. And our after-school programs do have a gender equality, it has a gender equality perspective. So how can we roll this out all across the nation so that all kids have access to these quality after-school programs? And that's just touching on some of the things related to the state, right? How can the state coordinate all these efforts to make sure that the laws concerning gender-based violence can be enforced, can be rolled out in equal measure so that everybody benefits from it. But as an individual, what can I do to ensure that gender equality is something that's tangible and not just, discussion based? And it starts with speaking up in your own family. When you see relatives making statements like, oh, only girls and women are supposed to clean, boys can play outside, start by calling that out, saying that it's not equal, it's promoting gender-based violence. Because remember, violence doesn't start just with physical words, it's also from verbal actions that can result in physical actions. It can also be about, exposing kids to media that's not geared to their gender. So, not, like if a boy watches a Barbie movie, don't call him out as, this is for girls only. Exposing kids to art that changes their perspective is an important part in ensuring that equality is possible. And lastly, I just want to also mention that with the issue of gender, right, it's easy to speak about in broad terms, but we have to understand that we live in a country that's very culturally diverse. What does gender norms and equality look like across different cultures? These are just some of the things that we have to keep in perspective when, discussing these things, because there's a lot of nuance involved. And it's important that we keep those nuances in mind when we try to address these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Junaid. Your voice has been heard. Thank you. I'm now going to ask Hlumelo Mboko from the Junior Town Council of Mossel Bay to address us.
Can everyone hear me now? Okay, so good evening, everyone. When we talk about breaking out of the boy code, we talk about freeing ourselves from the invisible rules that have trapped boys for generations. Don't cry, don't talk about your pain, don't ever look weak. These rules don't make boys stronger, they make them silent. They teach them to turn their hurt into anger, their fear into violence, and their sadness into silence. And when that happens, whole community suffers. When boys suffer from something, they are told to man up or toughen up. Not once are they asked if they are feeling okay or do they need help. By this time, when they are teenagers, they express their emotions through anger and outbursts. They hurt people they care about, and every time the world sees them, they see their violence, not their pain underneath. Society deems them as a problem when in reality, they are a system of a deeper problem, the boy code. This isn't a girl issue, but the price being paid because of the boy code. And the way we can begin solving these issues is by having dialogues and conversation where boys and girls sit together and talk honestly about respect, safety, and what it means to be human. This can help communities break the silence where men admit their struggles without shame and women speak their truth without fear. Because change doesn't begin with law on paper. Change begins in conversations we have with each other. Change begins in classrooms where boys are taught that tears are not weakness. Change begins in homes where fathers hug their sons instead of telling them to hide their pain. This brings us to the second part of the theme, growing boys as champions for change. Because it's not enough to break free from the boy code. We must replace it with something better. We need to raise a generation of boys who see respect not as optional, but as the foundation of manhood. Boys who see women not as competitors or possessions, but as partners and equals. Boys who don't just avoid violence, but actually speak against it. This is how we ensure a fair, safe, and respectful society for everyone. That is how we grow boys into champions for change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your voice and we have hope. I'm now going to ask Israfil Nordin. He's a pay intern. The pay intern program is an initiative of the Department of the Premier, and it is all about giving opportunities and space for young people to grow and to thrive. Israfil, over to you.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and Chief Whip. So today I will elaborate on the questions that were asked about, specifically on what the role the Western Cape Provincial Parliament can play in ensuring a fair and safe, respectful society, and everyone ensuring that such issues is not just a girl issue, but a social injustice issue for everyone. Firstly, I would like to say that most of the men out there today, most boys, are being pressured into gang violence. So I am from the Cape Flats. I am a voice from the Cape Flats, not only a professional individual, but a person that will speak out against the violence that is occurring within our societies. Young men are being pressured into gang violence, are told that they are not enough, and gender-based violence that occurs, especially with ladies that are being sexually abused and are, just 1 second. Also, I would like to elaborate on the issue of what role we can play in instilling equality between boys and girls in relation to gender norms that encourage the abuse of girls. So I'm going back to the school that I used to be in, where boys would often pick on girls and constantly saying that ladies cannot do the exact same that we can do. So what makes you think that that is the truth? That is simply not the truth, because you get ladies that do construction work exactly the same like men. And these are the issues that we need to address in the Western Cape government by running campaigns as it was ran, by addressing the issue on national TV, which needs to be addressed, and all these issues need to be prioritized over all things, because we are losing our young men and women out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Israfil Nordin from the Pay Internship Program. I'm now going to ask from the winelands on our doorstep, Mr. Byron Skeepers. Byron, we are in your hands.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. All protocol observed. Honorable members, it's an honor to speak with you today on a topic that is both crucial and urgent: the need to break out of the boy code and raise boys as champions for change. This is a conversation not just about boys and girls, but about society as a whole, and how we shape the world to be more fair, just, and respectful for everyone. The boy code refers to the societal pressures and norms that defines how boys are expected to behave. These norms often encourage emotional suppression, aggression, competition, and disregard for the feelings or rights of others, especially girls. This code enforces outdated stereotypes that are harmful not only to girls, but also to boys themselves, limiting their potential for empathy, collaboration, and equality. Today, we are here to break this code. To not only challenge the harmful stereotypes, but to foster a generation of boys who will lead the change in creating a world of respect, equality, and justice. This is not just about empowering girls, it's about empowering everyone. Let's begin by addressing a key question. What role can the Western Cape Provincial Parliament play in ensuring a fair, safe, and respectful society for all, and ensuring that issues of gender inequality and abuse are not framed as girl issues, but as social justice issues for everyone? The Western Cape Provincial Parliament and all governing bodies must take the lead in addressing gender inequality at a systemic level. First, they can implement policies that challenge gender-based violence, discrimination, and the normalization of harmful behaviors in schools, workplaces, and communities. These policies must be grounded in education, awareness, and activism. Legislators can partner with local organizations, advocate for gender-neutral education curricula, and ensure that laws protect everyone from violence and discrimination, regardless of gender. But perhaps most importantly, the Western Cape Provincial Parliament must champion the idea that gender justice is not only about women's rights, but human rights. We must build a society where these issues are recognized as problems for everyone to solve, not just women or girls, but everyone regardless of gender, race, or background. The Western Cape Provincial Parliament can create an environment where the focus shifts from blaming individuals or groups to working together as a society to shift culture beyond behaviors and attitudes. Now let's turn to what you can do. What role do you play in instilling equality between boys and girls and challenging Equality starts with small things. The conversation you have with boys and girls in your own circles, whether you are a parent, teacher, mentor, or friend, you have the power to instill values of respect, equality, and fairness. Encourage boys to express their emotions without shame, to show kindness and vulnerability.
Cheers.
Vulnerability, and to respect boundaries. Teach boys that strength does not mean abundance over others, and that real power lies in empathy, understanding, and cooperation. We need to stop telling boys that boys will be boys and start showing them what true respect and equality look like in practice. This means standing up when we see mistreatment, educating boys about consent and emotional literacy, and encouraging them to be vocal allies in the fight against gender-based violence, but the fight doesn't stop there. As a society, we must stop treating violence, harassment, abuse as isolated incidents. We must challenge the narratives that allows those behaviors to be swept under the rug or ignored because it's just a girl issue. When we stop accepting gender-based violence as the norm, we start to shift the entire culture. The final question asks, what role can you play in confronting your gender stereotypes and beliefs toward equality between boys and girls. This is perhaps the most personal and challenging part of this conversation. The truth is, all of us, boys and girls, men and women, carry bias and stereotypes. We've been raised in a society that feeds us these ideas, sometimes without us even realizing. To truly break the boy code, we have to look inward and confront the stereotypes and harmful beliefs we heard. For example, when you hear a joke that belittles women, or you see an image of a boy being praised for aggression or dominance, ask yourself, what do we normalize by laughing it off? What is this teaching us? Confronting these ideas requires a willingness to speak out, to correct harmful statements, and to challenge the status quo. We must also teach boys that being kind and respectful doesn't make them weak. Teaching boys to question their beliefs and about masculinity is a vital tool in helping them recognize that they can be strong and sensitive, competitive and cooperative, assertive and empathetic. When we confront the boy code, we open up the possibilities for both boys and girls to experience true freedom, freedom from harmful gender stereotypes that limit who they can be and how they can relate to others. In conclusion, breaking out of the boy code is not just about changing how we raise boys, it's about changing how we all interact, how we all see each other, and how we all challenge injustice when we see it. Boys can and should be champions for everyone. They can lead the way in breaking down the barriers of inequality and injustice. This persists in our society. We must all play our part, whether through policy, education, or by confronting our own beliefs, and we must do so with urgency. A world where boys and girls are truly equal is a world where everyone benefits. Let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Byron. You can take a big sip of water now. You did very well. The last of our scheduled speakers is also someone from the youngest junior town council in the Western Cape, and we are very proud to welcome Mr. Destin Ewister, West Junior Town Council. Destin?
Am I visible?
You are visible and audible. Sir, the floor is absolutely yours.
Okay. Afternoon, honorable members of the Western Cape Boys Parliament. I'm Destin Ewister, representing the Beaufort West Junior Council. My insights on today's discussion is that the Western Cape Provincial Parliament can play a significant role in ensuring a fair, safe, and respectful society by, number one, legislating policies that promote gender equality, but also not forgetting about the girls that are also in our society while promoting boys. Ensure that gender-based inequalities are addressed as societal issues affecting both males and female and aren't just framed as girl issues. For example, gender-based violence. When a man goes to the police station, reporting gender-based violence, it would be seen as something that is not serious or it's not taken seriously, so it's ignored, and then boys feel the need to keep in and keep to themselves, which is not fair because they are also human and they form part of our community, and we must ensure that we do what's best for them, as well as doing what's best for our girls. What can the Western Cape Provincial Parliament do to instill equality? Number one, challenge and attempt to change gender norms that are harmful to our society. Support initiatives that support both girls and boys equally and focus on a healthy relationship and mutual respect between both genders. The Western Cape Provincial Parliament can play a role in confronting gender stereotypes by engaging in open discussions about the impact that gender stereotypes in old norms have on our society. And we must also understand the different perspectives of both genders before tackling these issues. We must understand all of them. As the Honorable Deputy Speaker said, breaking out the boy code, we have to change this. Our unwritten rules can be tough. Boys think that these rules are meant for them because they are pushed or instilled in them by people who raise them, and they don't know how to attack these by being different, or they don't know how to be different. And we must press the reset button and be the champions of tomorrow. Being dominant is something that weakens our society. The patriarchy is not good for our society because we are all human and we all represent our unique talents to the world. So for the boys' parliament, I hope that we can be the change makers. And remember, that speaking up doesn't mean that you're weak. And being strong is about standing up for everything that you believe in. And being silent won't help anyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Destin Uester from Beaufort West. This concludes all our prepared inputs for the Western Cape Boys Parliament. I'm now going to ask Sindile Sikau, who is the chairperson of the Western Cape Men's Sector and who has been relentless in making sure that the Western Cape hosts the first Western Cape Men's Parliament and also now the first Western Cape Boys Parliament. I'm going to ask you, we're slightly over time, and we know that you have homework to do, kids, and or young men rather, let me say that, and other responsibilities that you have to that you might have. So I am going to ask that you limit your inputs in this open group discussion to 1 minute. We're going to have about 25 minutes. So, Mr. Sindile Sikau, please react to the raised hands. And remember, you can also put something in the chat box that I will be monitoring. Sindile, I'm going to hand over to you now, sir.
Good afternoon, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Deputy Speaker and Director of Public Engagement. Am I visible and audible?
You're audible, but you're not visible. Your screen still shows dark. There you are now. Now we can see you.
Okay.
There you go.
No,
Thank you. Okay, over to you.
Great. Yeah, let me take this opportunity to thank the honorable members from various districts. They must know that they are members of the Boys Parliament. So we have invited them to deliberate on issues that the Honorable Speaker agreed upon on the 15th of May when we had a dialogue in Parliament, in the Provincial Parliament. So this sitting, members, is quite very important. I've been listening very carefully on your inputs, and we felt that there is still more to be included. So I'm here to lead this 25 minutes group discussion to issues that were already been articulated to. With me, Director, with Mayor Ashiklas, is in Overstrand, He's the Deputy Secretary of the men's sector in the province. So we will together drive this process of the group discussion, because we need to record this and take it up with the speaker and the premier of the province. Thank you very much. One of the issues that has been raised here is the role. What role can the Western Cape Provincial Parliament play in ensuring a fair, a safe, and a respectful society for everyone, and ensuring such issue is not a girls' issue, but a social justice issue? We know as young men, our tradition told us and our upbringing that this is a girls, what, and all that. So I want to get from the members, the honorable members, what role can the Western Cape Provincial Parliament play in order to remedy this? Thank you so much.
The hand is Franklin Malefane.
You're on the floor, Franklin.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you. So I know my camera is a bit, or is not visible. Maybe it might be because of my network, but I just wanted to focus on the fact that maybe men shouldn't cry. If we sit and actually think about it, this statement is making men bottle up a lot of information or emotions, leading to depression or maybe things like anxiety. So sometimes it may be feelings of insecurity too. Maybe that's why there are maybe so much men on the streets getting up to no good, or maybe that's why there's a lot of gender-based violence in our country. Now, I am here to say that we should actually challenge that, because that anger builds up inside, leading to possible GB instances, like I said. To make sure that all of this does not happen, I suggest that we let men know that it is okay to cry or show compassion. It is okay to just let out your emotions, and maybe sometimes that's where you'll actually find your true happiness. We need to encourage boys and be father figures to them, and maybe show them that there is more to this world than maybe bottling up all your emotions. And most importantly, we need to be there for one another. Thank you.
Thank you,
Langa,
Franklin.
Langa for men.
Yeah, Langa for men.
I'm not sure if my okay, I can hear myself. My name is Luyolo Pani Lengisi Aule. I am the founder of #Langa for Men. I'm very happy that the Boys Parliament has finally taken place, because it has been a while. We've been waiting for platforms like this, where young boys and men can cough out and cry about their issues. My first point, which is a comment, it is very important to first make boys to understand who they are before we can add to the responsibilities that they have, which are ideal and harmful. For a long time, we've been waiting for this kind of platform. But before we can go on other genders and everything, we need to first discuss about the issues that are affecting young boys and men. And then we can be able to correct ourselves, because a lot of harm are caused by boys to other boys, and it leads to other genders and other sexes as well. So my comment will be, I appreciate this platform, and I'm grateful that it has taken place and created so that young boys can have the space. Now it must be publicized to each and every school and to organizations that are working with young boys, because we've been needing this kind of space as young boys, where we can cry and open up as well. Then we can be able to move to the issues that are affecting young girls, because we have a lot of issues and are caused by us as men and as young boys. So this platform is the first step of linking men with boys. So we as an organization will support this platform and will make sure that more people join next time. And it must also be physically, because we have to see each other and we must meet each other and we must exchange the energies that we need. I thank you.
Israel Nodin. Israel Nodin.
Good evening, colleagues. My apologies, my microphone was on mute. So the question I would like to ask is, we see all the things occurring outside. We see what is happening with our young men in our communities, within the Cape Flats specifically, within the Western Cape. We see all the crime, we see all the gender-based violence, we see all these bad things happening. And did we ever take the chance to ask ourselves, what laws are our government putting in place to be able to allow, to tolerate the things that are happening outside? Do we ever consider the people in our communities, young lives that are being lost, our young men that are being pressured into gang violence, into drugs, into beating their mothers, their sisters, their grandparents? Did we ever take the chance to ask ourselves what we can do as a government, as a people, all together, what we can do to change this? It sounds a bit abrupt, it sounds a bit way too much, but I feel like that the South African government should bring back the death penalty. And it sounds a bit much, but I feel like this is the only way we are going to change our conditions in this country, because gangsterism, the gangsters out there in the Cape Flats, they don't care what is happening. They are afraid of one thing, and that is the death sentence. Thank you very much.
Bongani Ngabaza.
Greetings, everyone. Am I audible? Can everyone see me?
Audible and visible.
Yes. So greetings to everyone on the call. I think the discussions on the table is a really valuable one. And I think a perspective that hasn't been explored yet is the role that culture plays in gender norms. So tomorrow is going to be the 24th, and we'll be celebrating Heritage Day, a day that is marked by celebrating our diverse cultures and heritage as a country. You know, I think specifically speaking to Nguni culture, Ubuntu is a concept that we are all familiar with, and it's I am because we are. Right, the well-being of one person reflects the well-being of the whole community. So when a girl suffers violence, the whole family and society are harmed. Boys must see that protecting girls is not charity, but it's protecting the integrity of their community, right? So how does WCPP step in? I think Parliament can use cultural platforms, use storytelling and heritage events to challenge the idea that gender equality is a foreign concept, or rather a Western concept. You know, instead of saying gender-based violence is a Western concept, leaders can point to Ubuntu and traditional respect, which is Inhlonipho and Xhosa, as things that are already teaching dignity for all, right? And I think also making cultural education part of civic education contributes to that, so that gender equality is not something that's imported, but it's rather rooted in South African traditions. You know? And in Nguni culture, we value collective harmony. So if boys are taught that violence disrupts the family, it becomes everyone's duty, not just girls, to stop it, right? So the Western Cape government must remind us that gender equality is not a girl's cry for help, but a community's cry for justice. Because again, I am because we are. When the world suffers, or when one suffers, all of us suffer. And with relations to how do we actually challenge gender norms, is in culture, again, someone mentioned here, there's a saying that a man does not cry. It's that particular saying suppresses emotions and creates men who cannot express pain except through anger or violence, So normalizing vulnerability in boys and respect in the way that boys interact with girls. And I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of redefining masculinity through culture. A lot of our cultural traditions promote being a man as dominance. So we need to rephrase that into a man is someone who protects dignity, upholds justice, and respects women, And also, again, because culture informs who we are as adults, right? A lot of young boys go through rites of passage. I think those traditions are very critical and important in terms of the worldview that boys have when they transition into becoming men. We can use those spaces as platforms to teach gender equality, respect for women, and also the dangers of toxic masculinity. Thank you.
Janet Daniels.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
We can, and we can see you, Junaid.
Okay, thank you. So we spoke a lot about what the state's role is in ensuring that gender issues are being advocated for and being mainstreamed across society. I'm just wondering, like in these discussions, we also need to talk about how do we hold the state accountable in ensuring that all these mandates are being met. I think we shouldn't focus too much on reinventing the wheel, because there are a lot of gender-based violence organizations that are already doing the work. So how can the state work in coalition with all these, these bodies that are already doing the work, so that we don't end up, just repeating something that's been done already? And with the role of the individual, somebody mentioned that mentorship is a good role, is a good way of advocating for gender-based violence to not just to be solely focused on women and girls, but also boys. And we also need to imagine how does mentorship look across different cultures, which my previous colleague brought up. And I just wanted to reiterate it. That. So how does mentorship look across different cultures? And how do we actually hold the state accountable in ensuring that we are addressing gender-related issues as a social justice issue? Thank you.
Honorable Memory Boyson.
Thank you, Program Director. My apologies. I'm also struggling with my camera. But Program Director, allow me to acknowledge the presence of the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, Chief Whip, the Leader of the Opposition, members of the House, councillors, professional staff, and the leaders of tomorrow, the boys in the House. Mine are comments, and safe to say that I took notes on all the speakers, and I must say that I am blown out of the water. We boasted about having the youngest leaders in our legislature, which is a fact, but it's also a fact that we are older than the boys here in the House today. And because of that, the issues that these youngsters have raised when I was their age, I would not even have understood these comments. But I must say that I am impressed that they understand what we're dealing with. They understand the challenges of society. And also just today, we had a discussion, and Member Johnson is also on the platform. He can attest to this. We actually had a discussion, not even taking into account that we'll be in this meeting this time of the day. We spoke about the youngsters, what the youngsters need going forward. And I think, Mr. Speaker, this is a brilliant engagement and concept. And I think with the next engagements, it's to deal with the practical stuff. All the youngsters here have touched on all the crucial issues. Breaking codes of toughness, breaking stereotypes, health, mental health, you name it, you name it. And I think when we come together next time is to measure the practicalities of this on, and the questions have been raised, what are we doing as a provincial parliament? And I think out of the note, we as members of parliament, we can then share, Mr. Speaker, in terms of what did we pick up and come up with a way forward in how would we practically implement all these terms and discussions. And lastly, I just want to comment on the plea from one of the youngsters of the death penalty. Indeed, we're coming from a period where we did have a death penalty, but also I would like to drop the idea of, or leave us with a thought to ponder over impunity. We're sitting with a problem of impunity where perpetrators and where criminals are not dealt with in terms of the laws in front of us. Mr. Daniels alluded to the fact that there are laws that deals with these systemic problems. The question is, are we law abiding? And that is some of the things that we, even as Parliament, should engage on. And when we come back, then we put something together and all of us again engage of how do we roll out what came out of the session. And definitely I'm looking forward to the next engagement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Zurena Suleiman.
So greetings to everyone. So I'm Curtly Adams from Chrysalis Academy. So from my side, mainly females are being considered as sensitive, right? But what about us as men, boys and males? So what about us? Because now we have to go back to this thing, as real men don't cry or boys will be boys. At the end of the day, we need to consider men's, boys or men's, we need to consider our mental health, spiritual and emotional and physical. So we need to cover all of those aspects first, because real men don't cry, which is totally wrong at the end of the day, because that is just someone else's opinion. As real men don't cry, but what about our feelings? So we're not allowed to express ourselves. So our mental health, physical health, and emotional health is very important at the end of the day. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Hayden Koopman. Hayden Koopman.
Hayden, are you still there? Sindile, maybe take the next one and we'll try Hayden again.
Sibusiso Ngumalo.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, especially thank you for the invite as well. Well, today's session just reflects how much work there needs to be. From where I'm sitting at, colleagues, I'm wondering what kind of action plans are we putting in place to make sure that we are able to combat these challenges that we are identifying in our communities. There's one speaker that highlighted and really spotlighted the crisis that we have in the Cape Flats, and we find two manifestations of inequality there, which is crime. And now recently I'm seeing there's a rise in crimes against women, where you find young girls have been shot dead, bullets to the head. And it's frightening because now we are seeing a new variation of GBV that is coming up in our communities. And really the call is to say, may the Western Cape Parliament really assist in terms of visibility of SAPS, assist in terms of making sure that these criminals know that once they are apprehended, they will face the consequences. I think we really need to rally together as men and boys in that call to say enough is enough. The kind of killings that we are seeing in our communities, it's really alarming. Our daughters, our wives, our sisters cannot even be free out there because of such high crimes. And I think that is the pressing point, colleagues, that we really need to make sure that we are able to find a solution, and very quickly, because it's getting out of hand by the day. I know one speaker, called out for death penalty. I don't think maybe that's feasible in our constitution, but we can definitely look at getting the army and the SANDF to really assist what is happening in these high crime zone or hotspots, as it may be. Thank you so much for a lovely session. Looking forward to hear the response from our leaders. Thank you.
Faida?
Dan Sindile, I see Kaiden is here.
Kaiden?
Kaiden, you're on mute.
Unmute, Kaiden.
Gillian Postman?
Good afternoon again, everybody. I hope you can now see me. I've managed to join on my computer. I just wanted to make a recommendation, Ms. Forshare, if I'm allowed. I suppose as Chief Whip, that's part of my job. But what I think we should do is the report or the Hansard of this Boys Parliament should be packaged and sent to the chairpersons of the Standing Committee on Social Development, Education, Health and Wellness, Premier and Constitutional Matters, Police Oversight, Community Safety, Cultural Affairs and Sports, to enable the various committees to also engage with some of the input that the young men have made, to enable Parliament as an institution through its standing committees to process some of these inputs. And I would encourage all the young boys participating on this call to join our sitting on Thursday, the 25th, via YouTube. You can catch it online, because the Standing Committee on Social Development have recently conducted 2 days of public hearings onto the status of children and young people in the Western Cape. And that committee is sending to Parliament on Thursday a report that looks at how comprehensively we need to look at what happens to children or to young people specifically in the Western Cape. And some of the key recommendations out of that report is the establishment of an ad hoc committee that will look at the status of young people and the status of children in the Western Cape. And I think that listening to some of the insightful comments and inputs made by the various speakers, you would be integral partners in also working with those various committees to be able to look at what that final report of that ad hoc committee looks like. Because our Parliament is not just one where you can participate in the Boys' Parliament, it's also an opportunity for you to participate continually in our standing committees and in our public programs. Thank you very much. That's my input, Ms. Forshare.
Thank you very much, Chief. Sorry, Sindile, I just want to, there was a hand up from Keegan De Silva that we somehow missed. Also, Kaya, just check in the lobby. I see there was Councillor Links from Beaufort West that wanted to join us. But Sindile, if we can take Keegan, please.
Can you?
Hi, good day, everyone. My name is Keegan Da Silva, a representative of the George Junior City Council of, George. On behalf of the George Junior City Council, we'd like to say thank you to the Honourable Speaker of the Western Cape Parliament, Dalen Mitchell, and Honourable Regan Allen for this opportunity to be part of the first Boys Parliament. As George Junior City Council, we have already planned to host a gender-based violence event, and this links perfectly with the vision of growing boys as champions for change. We also support the notion for the next meeting to be physical so that we can further acquaint ourselves with our fellow champions for change. I thank you.
Sindile, if we can try Caden Koopman one last time as the last speaker, with your indulgence, Chair, because I see he's on and I can see his video is on.
Caden Koopman, proceed.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, sir.
I am for the I may have called. I have unfortunately, my name was called to speak in the first segment, but unfortunately I had trouble signing in. With your permission, I would like to carry on just to give my two valuables. Member of the African Union. I want to talk about quickly is a crucial issue that affects us all. That we are here tonight to challenge gender norms, stereotypes in our communities. Now, it is important for us that these issues are rooted within, and also to acknowledge that the historical context in which the oppression of women and groups is not a new phenomenon. It has been perpetuated in various institutions, including colonization, apartheid, and even some religious institutions. For instance, the notion of patriarchy dominance has been reached through social norms, laws, and cultural practice. It is essential to recognize that gender-based violence is a product of these and stereotypes within our communities. The objectification for the second part, allowing perpetuators with little to no consequences. We must the fact that this violence has been embedded in our societies for centuries. It will take a collective effort to dismantle it. Provincial governments have a crucial role to play in challenging these norms and prevent gender-based violence. They can start by implementing policies that promote equality and inclusivity, such as providing education and training on gender sensitivity, creating safe spaces for survivors of violence, and ensuring that laws and regulations protect the rights of all individuals regardless of their gender expression. Moreover, provincial governments can work with organizations and advocacy groups to raise awareness importance of challenging gender norms and stereotypes. They can also provide resources, very important, to support to promote gender equality and provide service to survivors of violence. However, it is crucial that we to acknowledge that the struggle against gender-based violence is not limited. We as individuals and initiative for creating a culture of respect, empathy, challenge our own biases and assumptions, listen to the stories and experience of marginalized individuals, and amplify voices. Religious institutions in particularly have a significant role to play in promoting gender equality and full norms and stereotypes. They can influence to teach values, compassion, respect, and to provide support and resources affected by this. Emphasize that challenging stereotypes is an ongoing process that requires effort, commitment, and courage. It involves questioning our assumptions, listening to marginalized voices, and work together to create a more just and equitable society. In conclusion, it does recognize the harm of that gender-based violence has caused in and continue to cause. Prevent it. Let us challenge stereotypes to prevent this violence and let us create a culture of respect, empathy, and understanding. We owe ourselves and our communities and future to create a world where everyone, regardless of, as a great African proverb says, when you strike a honor the resilient marginalized individuals, let us work together to create a brighter and more just, equitable future for all. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, thank you very much. Unfortunately, due to time, we have reached the end of our discussion. I will hand over back to our facilitator, Ms. Foshi. But let me take this time to thank the Honorable Speaker, Ms. Daylin Mitchell, and Deputy Speaker, Mr. Allen, and also acknowledge the Chief Whip, Chief Bosman, and the leader of the opposition official, the leader of the official opposition party. We really value your inputs, delegates, honorable members. We will, as stakeholders and the main sector in the province, under the leadership of the Speaker, we will make follow-up and further debate on the issues raised here. Thank you very much. Back to you, Facilitator Ms. Foshi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sindile, and thank you for agreeing to facilitate this group discussion. It's always the most difficult part because we want to hear everyone, we really do. Unfortunately, Deputy Speaker, we've encroached on your time a little bit, but I'm going to hand over to you, Anon. Thank you. The Honourable Deputy Speaker, Regan Allen.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fushia. Members and participants, to the Speaker, the Chief Whip, as well as the Leader of the Opposition. Today, from across the province, boys and young leaders challenged harmful stereotypes. We are breaking the so-called boy code, and importantly, young men today can clearly see themselves as champions of change. The space created by the Western Cape Provincial Parliament afforded participants an open space where boys can openly talk about respect, equality, and their role in building a society that is fair to everyone. This is more than a debate. It's young men standing up and taking a stand. It's leadership in training, helping others that are viewing and will view to understand that real strength is found in respect and responsibility. Many of the boys have spoken about speaking out, and the more we speak out, the louder the voice of reason will echo, not only in our province, but across our country. Members and participants, this recording will be sent to all participants by the administration as well. And this dialogue will not end here, but it will continue across the various schools in the Western Cape, on the soccer field, even during online gaming, in the streets, and importantly, around dinner tables, even tonight. On point number one, if I can quickly break it down, Ms. Fushia, is that point number one would be breaking the boy code. Boys are learning and showing that strength is not about silence or violence, but respect, empathy, and responsibility. Point number two is that equality is everyone's business. Gender justice is not just girl justice, it is social justice for all of us. Point number three is leadership starts now. The representatives today clearly articulated and show that they are the leaders in their own right, in their schools, in their sporting facilities, and in their communities. Point number four is that the voices across the province, from Cape Town to Beaufort West and beyond, young leaders are united online, showing the diversity and talent of the Western Cape. When I was the age of the participants. I was elected to be the representative serving on the school governing body as a learner. And colleagues, the only reason why I was elected was because no one else wanted. No one else wanted to stand up. I had a speech impediment at the time, and only because I couldn't even say no. I didn't want to say no, and I just said, put up my hand, I will do it. But now we are seeing young boys raising their hand and standing up. Point number 5 is that change begins with me, begins with us. And the biggest challenge is confronting our own stereotypes and behaviors and choosing respect daily. As per the input from the Chief Whip, the Western Cape Provincial Parliament has undertaken to further engage with all committees to ensure that the voices today are heard across each department in the Western Cape government. We are a firm believer in the whole of society approach, knowing that government cannot do it alone, but every sector has a key role to play. Before I close, I would also want to say that members of the public, including all participants here today, have access to all the members of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament via the WCPP website, which is free to use and won't take any of your data. You will find all of the contact details of each and every member that is represented in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Before I hand over to the speaker, and I know that we are already over time, I would once again from my side want to say thank you to the administration, thank you to each and every participant for partaking today. Speaker, baie dankie dat u vir ons die nodige hulpbronne gegee het om vandag voort te gaan. So baie dankie. Ek handig voor na u.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Colleagues, yes, as the Deputy Speaker indicated, we've come to the end of a very insightful discussion. It is also a great honor for me, as I indicated in my welcome and my opening address, to champion and be part of this first historic Boys Parliament in the Western Cape and in the country. Colleagues, the platform that was created today should not be the first and the last, and it shouldn't just be a session where we have an opportunity to raise our concerns across the province, but also that action steps emanates from these kind of engagements. The Chief Whip made some bold recommendations in his contribution, and I can guarantee you that we will take this up, and the Western Cape Provincial Parliament will become that voice and that space for young people in the province. It would be remiss of me not to acknowledge all participants and the inputs made today. Thank you very, very much for taking the time out to be part of this historic occasion. To the members, thank you very much for your participation and for ensuring that the voices of our young people, young men across the province is heard, and that you will champion their plight and their voices in your respective capacities in the legislature, but also in the committees that you serve in. Thank you also to the coordinators from across the province who facilitated the participation of our young men today, and also to the municipalities and organizations for providing that platform and resources in the various regions across the Western Cape. Last but by no means the least, to the administration of the WCPP, thank you to Ms. Forshia and your team for facilitating the session, and thank you very much for your passion in which you ensure that public participation and education is just taken a step higher every day. And then to Sandile and your team and the Mayor of Overstrand, thank you very much for being a partner and a stakeholder to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. And thank you very much for the passion in which you lead on a daily basis. Thank you very much.
It is. Thank you very much, Speaker. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. I know that there's a rule that no one ever speaks after the leader, but there was a special request from Councillor Melvin Roelof, sir, from George, to say a special thank you for this boys' parliament. So I'm going to allow him 30 seconds to express his thanks to all of us, or to all of us, me included. So, Mr. Rudolfse, you can close us down. Thank you, sir.
Hi there, Sunel. I think can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Yeah. Keegan already actually did the thank you already on behalf of the Junior City Council, but just from my side as MMC for Social Development, this side in George, I would just also like to thank our Speaker of Parliament as well as our Deputy Honourable Regan as well for this opportunity. So I thank you very much, and we're looking forward to the next session. Thank you. In person.
Speaker, you can say goodbye.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Have a blessed evening. Goodbye.